Hello. I was wondering if I might trouble you for a cup of strong black coffee, and in the process engage you with an anecdote of no small amusement.
Hello, and welcome to another episode here at Nerdherder, where we're actually talking about the first nearest and dearest love of our hearts here, Star Wars. This week, we are celebrating a very special Star of the War, or War of the Stars?
I'd say War of the Stars.
War of the Stars.
Begun. Star Wars have begun.
War of the Critics, really, as we'll get into. But I don't care what anybody says. Up top, Attack of the Clones. Great movie.
Great movie.
Let's just, you know what? Send the guests home. We're done. That's all we needed to say.
I want to talk to Rayven. The other two can go home. Rayven can stay.
Well, spoiler alerts on the guests. But no, yes, we have once again blown the budget on guests because we have a jam-packed episode this week. And as we said, talking about Attack of the Clones. But I learned and was reminded that today is a very special other anniversary. It's the birthday week of Attack of the Clones, hence why we're doing this. And if you're like, well, you didn't talk about that one on that one's and that, we'll get there. We got to save content. But today, literally today, we're bad podcasters because we didn't do a podcast about it on its birthday. But Godzilla 1998 turns 23 years old.
Wow.
24, 23?
23.
23. And this is your note that this movie's on Netflix. You can watch it now. Give it a second chance because it is actually good.
Give it a second chance for Hank Azaria.
I will die on this hill. That was actually the first Hank Azaria thing.
Really?
Ever.
Like, yeah, that's right, because you didn't grow up watching The Simpsons.
It was all, and that's how it was always explained to me. That Godzilla guy you like is from Simpsons. And I'm like, what's The Simpsons?
And I'd also like to point out that Godzilla 1998 is canon within the Godzilla universe.
It is, and we will talk. Because yes, that's the beginning to end Godzilla movie I finally showed you. Where it just great Godzilla's greatest hits, man. This is now a Godzilla podcast. Let's go.
You mention that movie all the time, and I'm just like, I need to watch it again just to make sure it's as
great as you remember,
it was.
as excellent as you remember. There's only good Godzilla movies, man. I'm telling you. And so 1998's do a double feature. Sure. After you finish this podcast, wet your palate with a revisit to Attack of the Clones, which is a better movie than you remember, and Godzilla 98, which is better than it's given credit for. You won't be disappointed.
And then watch Ghost Rider.
Or your money back. No. Stop while you're ahead.
Ghost Rider.
Let's go ahead and get this shindig started. Like I said, we blew our budget. We got all of them.
We got all the hits.
Think of your favorite people. We got all of them. If they're not on here, then
Nicolas Cage?
You're just wrong. No, never. Well, we'll talk about it. But we did get the lovely friend of the show, Connor.
Hello. Yeah, I'm super excited. I'll say it up top. Attack of the Clones is my favorite saga film.
Dang.
It just is.
And that
in terms of in terms of just pure unadulterated Star Wars enjoyment, it is. But obviously in terms of looking at it as an not objective, but looking at it from the technical aspects of filmmaking, yeah, it's obviously not up there. I can understand why people don't like it a lot, but it's just such a bundle of fun. Hi, Eli.
Eli in the chat.
I love that. I love that goober.
We all do.
It's just such a bundle of fun, and I always have a good time with it.
That's also a term I would use to describe you. It's been a while since you've been on. We're glad to have you back. And we also have returning from last week. He never left, but
it's the Tapestry Man.
Alden. What is this with the Tapestry Man? Where did this come from?
You see,
Eli.
John, all of Star Wars.
It came from Eli.
Now, the first thing I want to say is that the thing about Godzilla 1998. No, I'm kidding.
No, you got to go there now.
Matthew Broderick, always great. That's a lot of fish. Great moment. It's got a schlock to it that I can appreciate, which is going to be a running theme tonight in Attack of the Clones.
Absolutely.
Is a schlock that you can appreciate. I do want to say real quick before we bring in the last guest and get rolling. We here at Nerdherder Studios want to give a shout out to listener Dawn. Dawn, if you're out there, you just won tickets to every single Nerdherder show that ever happens, ever, forever, until John and Boop are dead.
You heard it here.
Pick them up at the station.
You get our eternal presence in your ears or eye holes, whichever you prefer. Because this is a multimedia experience.
It's true.
You can be here live with us like Eli is, or you can check it out after the fact.
In my case, eye hole.
Hey, he ain't got no eye.
Bazinga! He did it before any of us could.
How dare you, Bazinga? This is our home.
Is that not cool anymore?
That was early for Bazinga.
Oh, well, I mean, well,
it's only 9:06.
You mentioned Schlock Alden. That is why I brought probably the finest and maturest member of the Broaxium crew onto the show, the lovely Miss Rayven.
It's certainly not Chris.
I think we can still get Chris on.
I think I am more mature mostly, though. I mean,
she keeps the ship afloat.
It's
yes.
true.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Beautiful boots.
Sort of.
She does.
I'm also the first one to jump off the ship and just watch it sink. Like,
I mean, that's fair.
Like a Blackbeard would do.
Right.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I did it. I did a reference. I did
no.
it. Oh.
I did a reference. Well, you did a reference. You made a reference.
To me watching our flag meets death. Like he's watched a couple episodes.
I haven't gotten any of it. It's one of those things that Boop watches and I pass by like when I'm getting a refresher on a drink or like getting a snack or something. And it never fails that I walk in at the most non-contextual moment
that shows
of an episode. it's just a lot of just like,
it has context, just not for you.
Exactly.
That's what it is.
It's not made for you.
And honestly, it's more entertaining that way.
Makes
Oh
sense.
my goodness. We have the lovely Miss Lauren.
Hi, Lauren.
What's up, Lauren?
Beautiful Lauren.
Yes. So as mentioned at the top of the show, and as Connor's already taken liberties to say and plant his flag in, you guys are all here because you love Attack of the Clones.
Hell yeah.
Which is the point of this episode and why we do everything we do. Like Connor mentioned, you can analyze and you can go deep and into the weeds and get, your critical thinking cap on if you have one of those.
No.
And you can play with this and analyze, but where's the fun in that? I wonder.
Exactly.
I think it's perfectly fine to have thoughts and wish lists and wants for movies. I think you can have that for literally every Star Wars. I don't know why certain ones are just more picked on, but nonetheless,
recency.
We at Nerdherder here, we are big advocates of love what you love, and so to have people that are so proud to love this movie, which thankfully, and I think it's really because of Kenobi and the return of familiar faces. People's opinions are changing. The ships are steering a different direction. But by and large, Attack of the Clones been kind of an off to the side one. But so to kind of start off, why for you all is it so special and important? Why is it your favorite? Because I'm really intrigued what makes it stand out. Maybe not even at the top of the list, but just more than some others. Connor, you're kind of already opened the gate, so why don't you start us off with that?
All right then.
As he looks at his phone and notes.
Wow. Why I really, really like Attack of the Clones. Why Attack of the Clones is my favorite Star Wars movie. The best way I could probably compare. Okay, so this'll make sense.
I love to start my comments like that. I promise this will make sense. Hold with me.
It'll make sense. It'll make sense within like the grander tapestry of it all. I had to.
That is trademark.
It's true.
You
get
one.
50
cents to Alden every time you say it.
I would say $1. Which I like Force Awakens and Last Jedi are just like probably they work so well together. Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones are the greatest Lucas duology he's ever done. They're the two most George Lucas films ever crafted. And I would even argue that like Attack of the Clones is like even more George Lucas than Phantom Menace. If just by a bit, just like
I agree.
Everything with Coruscant with the opening is really cool. The speeder chase is great. Zam Wazell is fantastic.
You did that on purpose.
I did.
You know it's Zam.
I know it's Zam Wessel. I know it's Zam Wessel.
He knows it's Zam Wessel.
You were about to undo 20 years of my life with
Connor
that.
is a little bastard who likes to say
Look,
things.
I grew up with Zam Wessel. That's how I always pronounce it. So whenever I heard Zam Wessel, I'm like, what?
It is Wessel, but for those of you listening, a little bit of community crossover. The folks on In a Galaxy, Eli and Jacob, will defer you to the Bounty Hunter video game where it is. There it is, where it is Wazell for some reason.
It's Wessel, like nuclear Wessel. Okay.
Yeah, yes. Wesselmania, which is a shirt. It's going to be on its celebration.
Wesselmania, yeah.
Which is great. So the speeder chase is really cool. Pretty much Anakin's entire arc, I just really, really love it in this film, with him just grappling with what it means to be a Jedi, with what he has to deal with, his love for Padme, him losing the only good parental figure he ever had in Shmi Skywalker. That's a big blow. That's a big blow to him. And I don't do it that much, Boop. I don't do it that much, but I try to be good. I try to be effective when I do it. The mystery noir stuff with Kamino and Kenobi is just pulpy as heck. I love it. Everything with Django, everything with
Space
just Kenobi
Columbo.
being absolutely bamboozled by everything. It's like, oh yeah, you're here for the clones, right? And he's like, yeah.
The memeability of that all the Camino scenes.
You just saying Space Columbo. I have this image now of it being Columbo and him being like,
just one more thing.
So you say that Sifo Dyas placed this clone order, but I couldn't help but notice that he's been dead for 10 years. So
and then obviously just one word, Geonosis. That I think that's all that needs to be said.
It's a lovely
It's
place.
just, I love it. It
beautiful.
It puts me in a good mood every time. Even though I know how it's all going to end with Order 66 and the rise of the Empire and the fall of the Order.
Star Wars has a way about that. You know where it's going, and you enjoy the ride every time, even though it does end in pain usually. All great stuff. Great stuff. Rayven, as the new entry to the herd and whatnot, what makes Attack of the Clones such a banger for you?
Well,
yeah,
it's funny because the movie itself is a banger for me as far as the story. I have a lot of complaints about it from a movie standpoint, but the story is so much more important. As Connor said, Anakin's arc is amazing. It's beautiful. It's all of those things. The dialogue is so incredibly George Lucas that it's so incredibly George Lucas. So I would agree with that as well. But for me, I find myself whenever I watch Attack of the Clones, kind of having like a sort of an epiphany about Leia and seeing so much of her in Padme and Padme in her. I mean, for me, I'm an OT person, so I always think of one before the other, as you imagine. But I love seeing how in so many ways Leia is like her, and in a lot of ways isn't like her at all. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I really enjoy kind of seeing that difference between the two. I mean, I love Natalie Portman at any given time, pretty much no matter what she's doing. But I just think that she brought a depth to a character that, again, it's very much like I feel about Ewan playing Obi-Wan Kenobi. Characters that I had heard of, thought of, but they were very kind of generalized. Here they came to life. Here you got to know them. Seeing, Obi-Wan's interactions with Dex, just, making it real. Here's my old friend. Let's sit down and have a discussion about something that I don't. And so I think for me, really what it comes down to is more what happened as opposed to the movie itself, if that makes any kind of sense. It's so pivotal. I mean, obviously Order 66, but it's just so pivotal, the story itself. Like I said, you just ignore the dialogue, you're fine.
Yeah, I completely get that, because that is absolutely how I feel about many a movie, in terms of like it supersedes the cinema-ness of it a little bit, where I'm not thinking about all the book report stuff that could happen with this. I'm just thinking about like the substance within it, if that makes sense. So I love all of that.
I don't think that every song or movie I love is a great song or movie. Some of my favorite songs are crap songs. Some of my favorite movies are terrible. It's fun and I enjoy it. And that's the point. Everything doesn't have to be an Oscar-winning drama. Sometimes you can watch The Fifth Element. I'm sorry, you can. It's fine.
Yes, you can. And
I
should
watch that.
Absolutely.
I really do.
We are very familiar with and preachers of loving quote unquote bad movies.
I do.
I mean,
This just reminded me, my first Mila Jovovich movie was Resident Evil 3.
Wow.
And that's a bad movie.
Dude, I went the whole...
I enjoy the hell out of it because she just kicks zombie ass so much.
She's so awesome. She's so awesome.
Fun fact, Jovovich's daughter is young Black Widow in the Black Widow movie.
Really?
Yep.
Following in her
Little
mother's
mini-me.
footsteps.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
She's
awesome.
a mini-me.
I watched the entirety of the Hellboy reboot before I realized that she was the evil queen in that.
I should
That's a
probably
bad
watch
movie.
that.
I love that movie. That needs to be a podcast one day, because I really think that got a
And
raw
you know
deal.
what? You want to talk about comic books? That's the one comic book that I have read.
What's that, Hellboy?
Hellboy.
Oh.
So there you go.
Really?
Some form of, yeah.
Interesting.
Interesting choice.
Well, you guys speak the truth. No, I've read Hellboy and Saga, and that's it.
Interesting that's where you started, and then like, because most people it's like Spider-Man, and then maybe I'll try this weird thing, and
Absolutely
true
not.
boob fashion, you went straight for the
Feet in.
darker indie take,
Right?
But,
That's why Boop has a private booth.
Eli,
That's true.
don't bring any of that in here.
They call me
Not
the
today.
Not yet. Not yet.
Okay, I will preach for Rise of Skywalker. I'm here for it.
Yeah, we will hijack this episode in a heartbeat. But
I'll preach for it.
Alden, the mic is
Yeah.
for you.
Tell us about the tapestry.
Why do you love this piece of the tapestry in particular?
So the thing about Attack of the Clones is that, much like we've touched on already, it's partially the emotional connection to it as much as the actual content of the story or the actual filmmaking. So I was aware of Star Wars. I had seen the original trilogy movies when I was very little. I had seen Phantom Menace on home video, but I was 6 when Attack of the Clones came out. It was the first one that I could see in theaters, or that I was brought to. And I remember having just visceral experiences in the lead up. The Attack of the Clones Go-Gurt commercial I go to all the time. The standees in the movie theater, which when you're a child are larger than life. They had one of Obi-Wan and Mace when they're back to back on Geonosis. And all I saw was the title was Clones, and Mace Windu had a purple lightsaber, and I'd never seen purple in Star Wars, and I thought, does that mean he's a clone? Who are the clones? That doesn't make any sense. Like, are they going to fight themselves? Like, what does this mean?
Alden was ahead of the Snoke theories,
which
I didn't even know it.
Which I come to find out, people have been asking since '77 what the hell the clones were and what the Clone Wars was, because of that one line, and this was going to be the big answer. And this movie, this was. I could point to some movie magic moments in my life. This has the most of them. This informed, I think, my storytelling language, my cinematic language, things that I, as a 6-year-old, could not yet experience, like adult love. I was understanding in a way where I was about to make a terrible joke. We're moving on. I don't want to offend Dawn or anyone else listening.
Okay, I didn't have an adult that loved me.
Well, I just, you never know.
You're gonna get
what
Dad went for
you never know what churches people go to. I don't want to offend. But I to give you an idea of where my brain went almost immediately. But scenes like Anakin and Padme by the fire, which of course was like an awakening for so many people. She's in the black leather and he's all breathing heavy and stuff. And he's saying things that I didn't understand as a child. Like when he says, "You're asking me to be rational," that's something that I cannot do. I didn't know what the word rational meant, but I knew what he meant because there's something happening there.
Understand what...
Yeah, there's something so archetypal of like George understood visuals in the same way that Vader is sort of triangular. Is a triangle, there's a black triangle and the white background of the Tantive V4. This is two people that are start on the couch and then get further away from each other as the scene happens, but they're also breathing harder and the fire is going. So like even as a kid, you're like, they're gonna smooch, I think, but they're not happy about it. Like so, it has you and. But the noir aspects, I say everything from Mace Windu saying this party's over to the charge of the Jedi. Yes. Anakin with green and blue as a kid is a big deal. Yoda, of course, fighting for the first time was a huge deal. The theater erupted.
I wish I remembered my reaction to that moment.
It was crazy. It was twofold because it was him showing up. You're already like, huh? And then it's when he actually grabs it, so you could feel the crowd like process what was going to happen. But yeah, this movie is just, I agree with you, Connor. It's so pure George, and to echo what Rayven's saying about the story is almost like a separate thing of the filmmaking, because the filmmaking, there's hiccups, there's different things. The dialogue, I think, is, I don't know if it's like, I defend it. I have an underdogs thing. Like I want to come to the defense of like when people started to turn on Iron Man 3 or Multiverse of Madness or whatever, that makes me want to like defend them more. I like George's point about the dialogue, which is that it's supposed to be that stilted sort of black and white. Everybody has an American Midwestern accent. Like woman goes to slap the guy and he catches her hand, and like it's all that type of stuff. But it's the tones and it's the themes and it's the ideas. Like you can track, like this is when the master stroke starts for Palpatine is in this movie. Because in Phantom Menace, Qui-Gon dies. That's just one. That's just an amuse-bouche of what he wants. Now they're going to die by the droves. Now many of them fell on Geonosis. Like you see when they're all circled, bunch of dead Jedi. It's just Padme and like 10 survivors before Yoda shows up. Yeah. This is when it all starts. Like the Jedi don't fall on Order 66. The Jedi fell very slowly and gradually. Order 66 was just the nice big note at the end of the song. This is it.
Well, actually, if we're talking, if we're putting in the High Republic,
well, I mean,
Menace,
I mean, if you add in all of canon, the Jedi. The thing about the Jedi, and it's what Justin Bolger said, Justin, who used to work for Lucasfilm and ILM X Lab, it's a great comparison that always sticks in my brain, which is you look at, and obviously we're talking about clones, but take Mace Windu's arc from Clones to Revenge of the Jedi, Revenge of the Sith. Mace Windu starts this one by saying, "We are keepers of the peace, not soldiers." The next movie, it's he's too dangerous to be left alive. In 3 years, Palpatine, and this was the comparison that Justin made, Palpatine took Mace Windu down the same way the Joker takes down Harvey Dent. Dragged him down to his level. He's like, that's all it was. Like, I took Gotham's White Knight and I brought him down to our level. And that's all he's able to do. So that, and that starts here. It starts here with like really small steps that make it easy, which is something that we talked about with Multiverse of Madness and with Wanda. It's like, that's so opera, is that it's just the tiny things. Like, well, we can't really fight on your behalf, Senator, but we'll look into it. That's fine. And then we'll look into it turns into, well, you know, we could put Anakin there. I mean, even though he's, you know, he could watch her, even though there's something going on, but it's fine. I'm more worried about her than him. Haha, Captain Typho. And then it's, well, we could go to Tatooine and investigate why you're having this vision. It's just everybody thinking that they can have their cake and eat it too until it all explodes. So this is super important. And I think that anybody that's like, oh, Attack of the Clones is bad, it's like, well, okay, you're very cool.
I think it hinges on very key and very minimal arguments if you're gonna die on that hill. I don't think any of us have disagreed. There are there could be better quality in some areas of some of this film. That's not the argument, but when you make that as the nail in the coffin, it's really just not enough to keep the movie down.
No.
It
Mhm.
really isn't as big a part of the film and the greater story as it's made out to be.
When you make that nail in the coffin argument, I'm helping you nail the coffin.
Yeah.
No, not on this one. But Boop, what
Oh,
about
yes.
you as far
Yes.
as any particular things that are special about Attack of the Clones for you?
Well, I wish that I was my father's favorite, so I could have been taken to the theater along with my older brothers, which didn't
Oh,
happen.
Because it didn't happen for you till Revenge of the Sith, right?
Nope. My dad took us out of school to go see Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
He took my brothers out of school to go see Attack of the Clones. I'm not bitter.
Is that what it's like
fine.
having a dad? Man, I was missing out.
Same.
This is
Okay.
why I didn't see a Star Wars film in theaters.
You two can go
for
start
years.
another podcast. You saw Phantom Menace.
I saw the Phantom. Yes, that is true, and that was because of my mother.
Your mom, your great mom.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Anyway, shut up. I
See,
love
she
your
bullies.
mom. Shut up.
Boop bullies me too. Okay, so
I respect it.
don't
I don't believe
tell
it.
me y'all are special.
Yeah.
Whatever you're
I don't
into, I
believe-
mean, that's fine.
What happens in the den stays in the den and on the podcast.
Live
Yeah,
forever.
Attack of the Clones is a sequel in a prequel series, but you know what I mean. It takes concepts from the Phantom Menace and it not only expands upon it, it solidifies character beats from the Phantom Menace, which is
Mhm.
exactly what a sequel should be doing. Like there's something so poetic about Shmi Skywalker's almost last words to her son being, "Don't look back." And what does he do in Attack of the Clones? He looks back, and that is one of the many reasons for his downfall.
Mhm.
I don't think it's the sole reason that
No.
he became Darth Vader, but it's one of the many, many
I
reasons.
Well, much
Yeah.
much
Okay.
like you've already pointed out, Alden, like there is no singular moment
No,
Mhm.
in the building of Darth Vader.
Right.
Darth Vader
I
was
think that it's
It's
I
a
think it's
myriad of moments.
I think it's a myriad, like you said, Connor. I think it's phases, right? Like
Mhm.
you could argue. In fact, I would go so far as to say you'd be crazy not to argue that. Oh, hey, what's up, Nick?
Hey, we
Hi,
got the Nick
Nick.
Milky with us.
Yeah, the Milky
Nick
Man.
Milky,
Blue Milky.
Star Wars dad. The idea that Vader was incubated in slavery. You know, he was a slave as a child. Like that has to be our root. But I would say that Vader, the fully formed being, started to crystallize in that hut, in that Tuscan village when she died.
Exactly.
Like if you're tracking it like an arc, it's like that was the thing. And no spoilers for Mike Chen's Brotherhood, but that really plays into it. And
Yeah.
that's the feeling of powerlessness.
Well, because Anakin and that's what's so, that's what's so important about the Phantom Menace is Sam Witwer is so quoted as saying that conversation between him and Dave Filoni about the Duel of Fates and everything, and the importance that holds on the direction of Anakin.
Yeah, that was one of the many cruxes for his character.
From Qui-Gon's death to the death of his mother, he is a very malleable weapon, and it's about who's going to mold him and who's going to use him. One interesting, and I think it was, I don't want to say because I can't remember what podcast it was. I want to say it was TRB though, but at one point somebody made the comment about like, how like concrete like doesn't settle for years. Like it's good enough to build on, but it's not necessarily done until it's done. And Darth Vader is a character in that nature of, even after he dons the suit at the end of episode 3, he's not done becoming Vader. He's not done making choices that, send him in one direction or the other. And there's not a final choice really until Return of the Jedi and everything like that. And I love that of, there, and the comics certainly have in recent years played on that of he's still at war within, even after these foundational moments.
Yeah, and
Mhm.
I think one of the many, facets of Vader's character in general is he is a being of chaos. He is a being of inner turmoil that is kind of made outward in his rage a lot of the time. Like it's insane to watch the steps that go up the pyramid to the, sled downward spiral into Vader for Anakin. And that's one of the many reasons that I love Attack of the Clones is that it sets up where we're going to be in the next movie while also being a fun movie in itself. I love Noir Kenobi. I hope we get more of it in the Kenobi series.
Yeah, I mean, it's like this story pushes everything, like you're saying, perfectly into place and expands upon the ideas by forcing, because it's like, of course it's an ensemble piece, but this being the story of exactly, it's a great point that we're not the same people that we were. This is a decade after we met him as a child. This is him at 19 years old, 19 being arguably the most important number in the Star Wars mythology. Luke and Leia are 19 in New Hope. Rey is 19 in Force Awakens. This is when the actual journey, like his Phantom Menace is the story of Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan during the simmer. And but this is the kickoff of the Anakin Skywalker story proper with agency. This is the end of his training period. He's a knight by the time of the Clone Wars. This is it. This is the end of the Padawan braid days that we see that begin in the parade at the end of Phantom Menace. So with this, it's like it becomes an extension of all these things with some choices that are just fun, like George Lucas constantly during his run in Star Wars finding the new type of antagonist. So you have Vader, who's this big Terminator-esque force of nature, very unemotional, slow-moving Michael Myers, to Maul, who doesn't have armor and looks like a ninja devil, and has a new saber, very tiny and quick. So it's like, where do you go from there? Well, we're going to go to a distinguished gentleman now with Count Dooku, and how Dooku's weapons are more ideas. He's a political leader. He's a political idealist, not a murderer, which is one of the many wrong things that Ki-Adi-Mundi has said throughout canon.
Yeah, many wrong things.
Over time, adding to the, like, it's just a line in the beginning to, like, misdirect, but, like, the pious nature of the Jedi at that point in their history gets added to that as we continue the story for sure.
Yeah.
Like, they think, oh, once a Jedi, always a Jedi. Even if he goes political on us, he's still of a moral character.
Yeah.
Our teachings cannot just be shrugged off.
Yeah, right. It's who we are.
It's hubris.
Right. Well, and that, and that's such a religiosity thing of if you insult the institution, you insult the people, and that's why they are just, it's just touchy-feely to deconstruct those kinds of things. But speaking of Kenobi, to wheel it back, we're getting the mullet and Kenobi back next week, starting off with the 2 episodes, the triumphant return of Ewan McGregor and co. But to focus on our Space Columbo here for a little bit, we've all praised him a little bit here and there, but what are some big moments? Because I for one love when I started watching Attack of the Clones like a 50s, 60s like noir diner dash film. Right, all the neon, the hot rod cars, the gumshoe detective,
the whole scene with they're in the Outrider Club with Zam, but they don't know where she is.
Yeah.
He's like, "Where are you going, Master? For a drink?" Right. Like, that is just so cheeky.
When you, and that's why I always encourage folks to really all right, watch it, like it, didn't like it, either way, dig into the about of it, like the inspirations, what led to the decisions that ended up in the final cut, all of those things, because it will likely change if you go in with an open mind. It'll change how you watch that movie again, and oftentimes for the better. So so much of what I really, really enjoy, this is some of my favorite Kenobi stuff for sure for me, but to not steal the mic, Alden, what are some big Kenobi moments from this for you?
I think that the whole energy of him having come into his own sort of permeates all of his moments. that he's not the unsure, like, I am ready for the trials that he was in the first one. He's come a long way in these 10 years, and that the hair being such a big symbolism thing in Star Wars, like, you know, you grow it out, you cut it off. It's so like ancient and mythic and Eastern. But my favorite moment with him is what I think is like peak Kenobi. It's him in the, you know, the energy shackles in the prison chamber and Dooku goes in to talk to him. And he's just not having it. Like, it's Dooku having to face the product of his own training, because he trained Qui-Gon Jinn. And so it's like grandpa meet grandson in a certain way.
Sins of the father situation here.
Yeah. And the way that Obi-Wan's I forget what Dooku says, but he's like, it will be difficult to secure your release. They're just having that little tit for tat. When Obi-Wan says, I have work to do. It's like, they're just like, none of these guys are going to give. And I do believe that Dooku, I don't think Obi-Wan believes it, but I do think that Dooku is buying what he's selling to a certain degree. Yeah. He does think that he can overthrow the Sith and join me, Obi-Wan. Qui-Gon would have joined me. Like, it's just really classic and really pulpy and fun.
Well, it's funny you bring that up just as a side conversation. Like, I never interpreted it as anything other than serious. I'm always curious how other people took it. Like, I always thought that was a legitimate offer. Like, that was a legit moment between Dooku and Kenobi of join me. Yeah, this is all, I'm laying it all out. Join me.
Yeah.
Because I know more than you.
Yeah, that's how I've always seen it.
Okay. Like, I'm always surprised when people are like, no, he's screwing with him. Like,
I think I see it different now. Because I was originally like, of course he's screwing with him. He's a Sith. What else is he going to do? But having lived through the masterpiece that is season 7 of the Clone Wars, that scene between Maul and Ahsoka, where he is desperately trying to make a point to her, like, this is going to be terrible. You need to listen to me. I think I see a little bit of a parallel there of like, this is a legitimate offer of things are going to go sour and I could do something about this. Therefore, I'm going to reach out to a person who I think will listen to me.
Yeah, but it's interesting to dissect because it like gets into this territory. It's still selfish. Like, yeah,
big time.
Like,
although bad guys never see their bad actions as bad actions.
Absolutely.
No.
They always see it as having some sort of reasonable, purpose in the end. And of course you reach out when you see that you have someone powerful who might be able to further boost your success. So, I always took it as a serious offer because of that fact. I mean, I could do it by myself, but wouldn't it be better if I got all of you to come with me?
Yeah.
Right, because Dooku still has an agenda in this, and highly recommend Dooku Jedi Lost. Please. Because really there you find out why he falls away and why he romanticizes politics and what the Republic could be. Like, I think his motives here are to save the Republic, not the Jedi. But like the offer is pulling in someone else who can at least help him overthrow the Sith and maybe at best eliminate both of the religious parties holding on to the politics of the galaxy.
Because you could make it a point of, Dooku has a collection of, acolytes, let's say, really apprentices, quasi, but he never wanted them. I think he wanted
male.
Yeah.
I was laughing more about the clutch. I haven't heard that in years.
He's
bringing back clutch.
Yeah, like he always wanted Dooku, or he didn't want Dooku. He wanted Kenobi.
Yeah,
because Kenobi was the only one who actually. Right?
That's true.
Right.
That is true. So, yeah, I mean, I think that I don't think there's a single, because I feel like it comes up with every conversation what we're talking about. Was like whenever there's a join me moment in Star Wars, is it a play by the evil side or is it this? I don't think there's a single join me in all of Star Wars that is not genuine.
No,
they're not. It's because it's about choices. It's about selfishness.
The offering of the hand. Well, always important.
It's always the person making the ask that believes they are genuinely asking.
Yes, and because they're lonely. Because the dark side is a lonely path of really broken people. Like Dooku's one of the only people that went in from a place of privilege and strength and chose dark. That's what kind of makes him unique. Even General Grievous was, mangled and almost killed and had to become a cyborg. Maul was given away as a kid.
Yeah.
Anakin is Anakin. Like they're all Kylo Ren came from a place of grooming.
It's either tragic or it makes sense. But Dooku's the one where it's just like, I mean,
Dooku thought he could be the player that plays the game.
Yeah,
Exactly.
And get what he wanted. But yeah, I think it is a genuine thing because there's so much nostalgia that hangs over this movie on a metatextual level. It is very Thanos-y. Yeah, because that's what Adam Driver said about Star Wars when he was cast as Kylo Ren at the 2015 Comic-Con. He said it's not about good and evil; it's about who thinks they're right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
That's what makes it compelling. And this nostalgia that hangs over it is George based, of course, like the American Graffiti speeder, the diner. All this stuff, the noir, hard-boiled stuff, the romance stuff, rolling through the fields with your girlfriend, having a picnic, like all of that is in here. But the characters are nostalgic too. The way that the Jedi view Dooku, the way that Padme and Anakin sort of look back on her time with her painter boyfriend when she was a kid, Paolo. The way that Qui-Gon comes up, it's a movie that feels like it's at that transition period, and it should, because this is the antebellum galaxy. This is right there. It's like they are brushing up with it. Nothing will be the same ever. Even come the days of the New Republic, it's still not fully rebuilt. Everything's about to come crashing down. So
our
Piglet
cat
has a
Piglet
lot to say.
agrees.
Because there's like 5 of them, I think. There's
They're all important.
every middle chapter of the saga has them. Attack of the Clones, Empire, and Last Jedi. We have the Maul one with
Yes. My
in
favorite one.
season 7, and the Malicos one in Fallen Order. So
Leave it to Connor to bring up Fallen Order. Connor, while you have the mic, then what are some of your top Kenobi moments?
That's right, 'cause
or
that's
maybe
what we were
a
talking
top
about.
Kenobi. I
Yeah,
kind of
so-
hijacked it. I'm sorry. I wanted to talk about Dooku because he's got a cool lightsaber.
and he's
back
an
to the
interesting
mullet.
character that Clone Wars kind of threw by the wayside.
And
Little
he's
bit, but
Christopher Lee.
But we did get to
Sure.
see him in pajamas in that one episode.
We did get to see him in
so
jammies.
We did,
It
and I
looked
will
comfy.
wholly appreciate that.
they
But they still
literally
kind of
put it in
mischaracterized
Battlefront.
him. It's my only thing I have against Clone Wars. Anyway, the only thing that Clone Wars, one of the many things Clone Wars did super well was Kenobi.
Yes.
But anyway, it is also true, Eli. Thank you. I love this man. I love this little goober. I think just him being like a few moments, because there's not really one singular moment with Kenobi in this movie that really stands out to me. As opposed to Anakin, there's one moment that I'll talk about. But like him, the thing I really like about Kenobi in this one is that he's very he regulates Anakin a lot. Like one of the scenes that I think of when I think of Attack of the Clones is when Anakin is like, "Yeah, Padme, we're gonna catch her killer," and Obi-Wan's like, "No, we're not.
What did you just say?
Like, that's not the directive of the council.
Right. This is supposed to be my easy assignment. Right.
Like this is we're just supposed to protect her, not catch who killed her by the directive." Like the thing, like Obi-Wan's basically what I like to call, like, if Anakin's the poster boy of like the Jedi Order, Obi-Wan is the poster boy of the Jedi Council. Because
Can't
like
believe I'm
he's
not
very
he's very by the books. He's like he's the one you always like. Be more like Kenobi. Like he's growing
and
up.
it's something I
always
never
heard that.
noticed.
That's the example child of what you should strive for.
And it's also to build off what Connor's saying about the regulating and the keeping him in line. When they do this weapon is your life, and he's like, "I'm sorry, master." Like that whole moment when he says, "One day I think you're going to be the death of me." That whole moment when he's like, "Don't say that, master. You're the closest thing I have to a father." That's the problem. Is because Anakin sees Obi-Wan as a father at this time, Obi-Wan sees him as a younger brother who was thrust upon him. The only reason he's training him, well, he grew to love him, but when they first met, it was because he made a promise to Qui-Gon. They become brothers, and that's part of the magic of the book Brotherhood, is that it does that transition into the brotherhood that you see in Clone Wars, and it cleans that up a little bit, that thematic transition. But like Dave Filoni's speech that he gives in the gallery special about Qui-Gon is the father Anakin needs, Obi-Wan is the father that he got, and Obi-Wan is wonderful, but he's not fulfilling the same needs in the same way, because he wouldn't have taken a chance on this kid. You know, if it had been Obi-Wan that went into town to pick up parts for a Nubian, Anakin would still be a slave.
He would have started at the bar. No,
exactly.
But I think cruiser. I think it also falls into the category of Qui-Gon is more of the type that breaks a wild horse, and Kenobi is the guy who runs the stable. He's not the guy who understands how to handle skittish. He's not the one who understands how to handle wild, how to, shape it without breaking it, without actually breaking it, keeping the spirit without, while still gaining some kind of control. And I just don't think that Obi-Wan was really designed with that in mind. He needed somebody a little bit easier to mold, somebody who didn't need so much special and careful care. And I think that that's where he failed. And I agree that, seeing him as a father figure would be extra hard because of that difference in vibe that, from somebody who, like, Qui-Gon, who is a little bit more hippie-ish, which is always going to be more comfortable, especially for a teen, where you're first having those first thoughts about being independent and, rebelling against the, the past, and, your parents, they're so old and they don't know anything because they don't remember what it's like to be a kid. And that's what happens. And so that's when everybody starts gravitating toward that hippie guy at the park, because you think he's like with you. And Obi-Wan, while he might look a little hippie-ish on occasion, doesn't really become one until like never. I mean, he never really becomes one. And
I mean, that's why he has his negotiator reputation, right? Because it's all about details and methodology.
He was never going to be the right hand. And I don't mean right hand. I mean, he was never going to be the right person for somebody like Anakin. Yeah. This was a far too wild stallion to be broken by the guy who runs the stables. You needed to call in somebody special for that. And that's where, the loss of Qui-Gon shows the most, because he would have understood that Anakin had all of this in him and wasn't ever going to be able to control it with simple, basic, this is what the council says.
Yeah.
Okay,
well, yeah.
That doesn't work for everybody. The same rules don't work for everybody.
No.
Absolutely. There's a whole parenting study that could be done between the dynamic of Obi-Wan and Anakin and Qui-Gon as well. But yeah, like, and that's something that, you kind of hit the nail on the head there with that whole illustration, is that's what Anakin was struggling with. He doesn't fit the Jedi, but he wants to so bad.
Yeah, he's never meant to.
He doesn't fit the Jedi of this time.
Yeah, absolutely.
I will always say it.
Yeah.
If Anakin Skywalker if you put Anakin Skywalker
saved the galaxy
in the
hundreds
High
of years
Republic, never turns to the dark side.
Yeah.
No, because they would have been like, "Oh, you want to be a Jedi pod racer pilot? Go ahead." Like, they would have
got their shtick.
They would have nurtured
you could
him.
tool that to him, but that's the thing about this. I mean, the clones find their personality, right? But part of and they find their individuality and their identities. Rex, Cody, the Bad Batch, Heavy, all these people. But the tragedy of their creation here, and we haven't talked about Jango and Boba, and we can in a second, but
absolutely
just focusing on the clones and like that ending of Begun the Clone Wars have as they're all an assembly going onto the cruisers, is that anonymity and uniformity and the automaton process has already started to creep in, and it'll take a few years, but the way that the Jedi have lost their zest for life is about to become a much bigger problem when they start introducing these sort of faceless people. Yeah, you don't want that. You don't want that person
on this podcast.
I don't think we want those fans here.
I have to throw this in since we're talking about the father issue with Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan with Anakin. I just want to say for the record, the worst person to be a master to him would have been Luke Skywalker.
Yeah.
That would have been the worst. I mean, Obi-Wan was not the right choice. Qui-Gon was. Luke would have been far, far worse because I think there's a major separation there because while I think that Luke is definitely not the same as Obi-Wan or Qui-Gon, he's a different animal entirely.
Mm-hmm.
I think he would have had an even harder time understanding someone like Anakin. For Luke, it doesn't twist like that. Even when you see Luke in The Last Jedi, it's not twisted. He knows what's this way and that way. He just understands that there's no way to be both, and there's no way to go to one side without somehow discounting, but I just think it's interesting when you think about that. Qui-Gon would have been the right choice. Obi-Wan was not the best choice, and that's why we got what we got. If it had been someone like Luke, we would have probably lost Anakin long before that, I mean, not lost him necessarily to the dark side. Might have just lost him.
Just lost him in general.
Right. He just looked down the barrel of a lightsaber one day.
Yeah.
As he's known to do.
Was the Jedi through process of elimination. I will say that.
Not touching that. I'm sorry. I just had to bring that up because I just
it's an interesting thought
because about it because
the
we
way
don't
that
think
these
so much of Luke is a master.
Yeah.
No, we don't. And the way that these people, the way that the generational triumphs and trauma is all passed down from these people, like what would Luke, it's such a weird what if, but like what would Luke be like if he was trained by people that didn't fail his father? His training is so much of Luke, why Luke is the way he is, all the way down to his relationships with Ben Solo and Rey, is because his two, aside from Uncle Owen, father figures of Yoda and Obi-Wan, are constantly looking at him like, do you think he's going to be better than his dad? Like, there's this energy of
like no
Luke
wonder
is sort
Yoda
of like
wanted to train Leia. Like no wonder.
Oh, Yoda with Leia as his apprentice, unstoppable.
Exactly.
Oh, dude,
she has
like the
everything
Empire would
that
just
he
be
wants.
gone.
Right, and that's what's so great about it. People that are listening that haven't read from a certain point of view in New Hope. There's this conversation between Yoda and Obi-Wan, and Yoda's Obi-Wan's basically like, "Hey, I'm sending you the kid." Yoda's like, "Yeah, awesome, can't wait to meet her." He's like, "Nah, I'm sending you the boy." He's like, "What?"
and if you want to see how that could play out, you can read Star Wars Infinity. It's a great comic series of what ifs. That's really one of my favorite little journeys Star Wars comics have taken.
For someone who can read.
So some thoughts.
Wow.
Provided you can read.
Some thoughts that have compiled with all of that. I think, because Connor, you bring up the interesting, if the Chosen One had shown up in the prime time, would it have gone as bad? No.
Dude, Avar Crisp would literally have been the best master for Anakin Skywalker.
Would have given
I accept no one.
But then I don't believe, and this is a whole different caveat to the show, Unexpected.
Actually, no, there's a few more people I would accept from the High Republic. But like Avar Crisp would have been the best person for Anakin
But if you drop the Chosen One in the High Republic, he's not chosen because he's not needed.
Exactly.
Like part of what makes Anakin the Chosen One, I think, is because he's so necessary to the fulcrum of this era. And what I think it comes down to is, like we've talked about, there's many a person that could have been better or worse for Anakin, but it all comes down to their influence on him. And I think if I could understand the omnipotence of the Force's sense of humor, I think it was more for them to learn something from Anakin that they just totally missed out on.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think that what's interesting about what you said about the sort of the comedy of the cosmic force, the divine comedy, if you will, is this idea that I've compared it recently to, it's the antithesis of the One Ring in Tolkien mythology. The One Ring wants to be found so it can unleash hell. It is a church basement. I've always thought that it looks like a classroom, but like a nightmare classroom. Like it gets darker the further back. Like further behind Connor you go, it's darker. There's
you're
kids
not-
back there that are like, he won't feed us because he's on another podcast.
It's dark
Like-
back here too. It's not just Connor.
But that's
Right, but
professional.
Connor's
That's professional.
Connor's looks like it smells like stale communion wafers.
Crunchy.
for our
Ow.
listeners, this makes probably no sense, but just watch the
No.
video.
Yeah.
Listen,
Oh,
Dawn,
for
you'll
heaven's
see.
sakes.
Dawn. Love you, Dawn. Yeah, I mean, they were. But yeah, so like this idea that the cosmic force is the antithesis of the One Ring. It wants good. It wants to be in balance. That's why when people say that Jesus, when people watch the video, everyone, when people say that balance in the force is equal mind, hey,
Hey, what's up?
Hey,
Oh my
thank you,
God.
wow,
Christina.
you got Jedi Master Christina Ariel to defend you in the
Beautiful.
comments.
This is great. I love this.
He's
That's
got more
fantastic.
pull than I do.
Wow.
Christina Ariel, have you ever seen Attack of the Clones? I think you might like it.
Yeah, it's,
I
I
don't
think it's
know.
also her favorite film, which it just blows my mind. I'm
You ever
just
see
so
Star Wars,
happy it's
Christina?
also her favorite Star Wars film.
Listen, I just trust people who love these kinds of movies more.
It's
Like,
true.
just putting it
Because
out
they have
there.
taste. They have taste.
Right. 'Cause
Exactly.
if you say like
I'm
Empire is your
professional.
favorite movie, I'm just gonna assume you only watch YouTube videos and get your opinions from that. Like, come on.
Return of the Jedi is my favorite movie.
That is
Because the
correct.
boots.
I'm
That's
loving
the
that
correct
more.
take.
It's because of the boots.
Yes, like I love that my first interaction with Rayven was like, hey, what do you like and what would you come on the show to talk about?
Boots.
Luke's boots and Attack of the
Luke's
Clones.
boots.
And your cat as well.
I will
Yes,
always
boots
talk
are
about
important.
Luke's boots at any given time. Any given time.
They're so good.
What are Christina
See-
does a
well,
great,
you see,
Obi-Wan
Christina,
Kenobi
when
That's why I'm here.
That's
yeah, that's why I'm here.
about same.
Nick,
Whoa,
Nick,
oh,
Nick,
getting
you gotta-
controversial
in
You
the
gotta
comments.
have some hot takes to
Little
get
bit.
popular is what I
Look,
hear. So
Nick.
that's
Oh,
what it
thank
is.
you.
My top 3 films are in no particular order: Clones, Empire, Last Jedi. There's a reason for that.
Good hits. Good hits.
Very good.
We've gotten way off course, but Alden, you mentioned the FET, and so we have to talk about
The
it.
FET.
The FET.
Also,
So
before we get
important.
too deep into that, hey Christina, if you ever want to come on the show,
Hit us up,
hit us up.
please. But yes, Django Fett. We obviously
best.
get the backstory no one really asked for.
No,
But
I
I am
asked
so
for it.
grateful we got Tamara Morrison. What? 20 years later, getting his own show with the Book of Boba Fett and going so many wonderful places.
doing so much, buttoning the sleeves of his shirt, just walking down a hallway like a dad.
Right?
Yeah, the love story of a Fett in a tube.
Hey.
So
An
it
alpha,
really
an omega,
encompasses
and an
two
omega.
things, right? Django Fett coming in encompasses two things. We get the answer to the question folks have asked since '77: what in the heck are the Clone Wars? And we also get answer to the question: who the heck is Boba Fett? And lo and behold, they're the same answer. Django Fett is the key. How did y'all feel about this, Rayven? You want to start us off? How'd you take to this?
I took to it amazingly, but anybody who's familiar with me knows that I was a Boba Fett fan back in the olden days, way back olden days. So I was always going to be interested in anything that had to do with Boba Fett, period. Where he came from and all that other stuff, all of that, I was always going to be in for. I thought it was very interesting. But again, I'm one of those people that just kind of takes it as it comes. I don't have a design when I go into the movie theater. I don't have something I'm expecting for them to say or do.
What a
I just
concept.
go in and let them give it to me as they, because to me, it's like going to a campfire and listening to somebody tell a story. I don't stop them in the middle and tell them that it doesn't work or I don't like that trope. I'm here for
Is
what
it
you are
possible
giving
to learn this power?
me.
Not from the
it's not,
fandom.
apparently. But
Perfect.
it's not to say that there isn't stuff I don't like. It's just that I don't discount everything because I don't like it. I also don't like, carrots, but I hear they're really popular for some people. Sorry, tornado
Carrots are
siren.
delicious.
Carrots are terrible.
and
But
peanut
that's a
butter.
whole other issue. But what I love about learning about Boba Fett is knowing where he came from. Because back then, when he first appeared, obviously no words really of any kind to tell you anything. I had no idea he was, the clone. I mean, not the clone model, but his dad was. And I just think I thought it was great. But again, I'm a huge Boba Fett nerd. So that's all I can say. Boba Fett nerd. That's me.
I just remember flipping out, and I was so proud of my mother who understood why. Because like that first scene when Zam meets Jango, and I see the silhouette, I instantly knew and started flipping out. And I appreciate she was like, "Is that the Boba?" I don't know, Mom, but it's
The Boba.
Cool.
Who cares? It could be. That's the point.
Look, my mom only understood this movie two ways: the Boba and purple lightsaber guy,
And Smiley.
and Smiley guy. Which, if you don't know who she's talking about, have
Kit
you
Fisto?
watched? Yes,
That's Kit Fisto.
Has to be.
Those
My
were
mom's
the three
Star
things.
Wars opinion was that there's nothing better than a man in leather pants. Go on.
She has a point.
I mean,
My mom
Concur.
just doesn't like the prequels. So
depends on the man in the pants, I will say, but generally,
Well, I think we know who she was talking about. considering.
That's a good point.
Watto, of course.
Of course. The
More of a
tiniest
leather diaper?
Can we just say
Yeah.
real quick, Watto, it's always weird to be like, I like Watto, because like,
Yeah.
we all know what business he's in, at least partially. It ain't just a junk shop. He doesn't have employees.
You heard it here, folks. Alden is a fan of the business practices of Watto.
Yeah, like what's that line in Thor Ragnarok? The prisoners with jobs.
Yeah,
Like
there you
that's
go. I don't like that S word. It says
I don't like that. S word. Yeah, exactly. So that's Watto. But Watto's scene in this movie when he's like, I quote it all the time. You gotta do the wings. Annie, little Annie, I dare you. Like that whole little thing when he's like, oh, I got a lot of deadbeats that owe me a lot of money. Like he immediately tries to get you owned this child, and now you expect him to go shake people down for you. Like
right. He's literally a Jedi. He's literally
Yeah.
6'2".
Is this a join me moment?
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Oh, is it? Join me, Annie.
Yeah, this counts.
We can rule like
This counts.
this side of the street.
Be my enforcer.
So funny.
Tell them
but
about
yeah.
the sand.
But yeah, and that's the beauty of this movie. I mean, like tying it in with like Django, like whether it's Django and Boba or Watto, Owen and Beru and Klieg Lars, like all the side characters in this
Klieg.
movie
Where's
are
Klieg?
just so good. Everybody does so much with a lot of times with so little. Like it's not like Klieg's a lot in the movie, but his whole thing of like, it's kind of abrupt when he's like, "Your mother's dead, son." It's like, oh, Jesus. Like,
like, oh God, all
Very
right.
sad thing to do.
Right. Which,
Yeah,
which
exactly.
one is this for you? Wife number 3, 4? What
Which one?
Yeah.
we
Very
actually know in
familiar,
canon.
please.
We know in
First
canon that
husband
it's
law.
his second wife. Second
Yeah.
wife.
How'd you really lose that leg, buddy?
Owen's mom died in childbirth, which is really sad.
Mm.
Oh,
Oh wow.
Yeah.
yeah.
Much
but
like
Way to
another
bring it
mother.
down, Alden.
Thanks.
Much like
Buddy.
another mother.
I didn't write it. I'm just reporting on it.
Well,
George.
just because you bring all of that stuff up, like I remember being so nostalgic because I grew up on the box set of the original trilogy, and so that was Star Wars that I digested for years. And so like even for me as a young person going to see this, like all the nostalgia of seeing the Lars Olmsted, seeing a young Owen and Beru and all of that, it was so weird to have that sensation over films that to me were only a decade old, but to I'm sure some were like these were weighty things they were answering, like to where Boba came from, like to see this Olmsted pre-Skywalker. It was all very interesting.
And
You
with
could say
that,
Olmsted,
can
but
I?
I know you mean Homestead.
Homestead?
Homestead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm thinking of Olmsted, Florida.
But can I just say that, like, 2 points on this Tatooine stuff. One, sometimes you see it go around on Star Wars Twitter or whatever, like, what's the saddest moment in all of Star Wars? The death of Shmi, pound for pound, is the saddest moment in the entire Star Wars mythology. End of story, period. When her dying wish is to just tell him that he's handsome, that he's grown up and he's a handsome boy.
What
Like-
every mother wants.
And, like, the
Love
cheek touch, like, everything. Like, Pernilla August is the unsung hero of this in terms of as an actress. Like, I wish she would go to a celebration so I could get a Shmi like action figure or 8x10.
Oh, same.
She's
You need
just
a
yeah,
Shmi
Just
hug.
a face
That
touch.
a Shmi hug. We can reenact
Eli,
the
I
death
love
scene
you.
and a
That-
Pieta.
Eli, that would have
Uh,
been my mother. That absolutely would have been my mother.
Bye,
that the
Eli,
Boba guy?
I love you so much.
Is that the
for
Boba
that.
guy?
But
Yes, it was.
that tied in with her funeral, the immediate follow-up. Anakin carries her body in. He grabs the sand and lets it fall out of his hand, and they're all there. When you get all the way to the end of Rise of Skywalker, and again, I'm not going to take us all the way down that road, but when people say, why didn't Rey end the movie on Naboo? Why didn't she go to Coruscant? Why didn't she go where I want her to go? Because I know best. That's how those people sound in my mind.
Right. JJ
She
said that.
Exactly how they
took
sound.
she took the end of the bloodline to where the Virgin Mary of this myth lays. Like it's when people say like Luke hated growing up there. Why would she bury his saber there? It's not about him.
Not his favorite.
It's about everyone.
Hmm.
It's about everyone. That's the Skywalker line doesn't have a father. There was no father. It was an immaculate cosmic conception. It's just her is the beginning. So it comes down like he is. That's true.
We got Pod Daddy in here too.
IP. Oh God.
We
Trying
got a
to
whole
justify
squad in
why he
here.
doesn't go.
So
Everyone on a Friday night had just decided to tune into the
all
best
the
show.
cool people
Apparently.
are here. All the cool people are
And
here.
I'm here too.
All
Connor,
the cool people are here.
Boba Fett, getting a daddy. How'd you feel about that?
Got one for you, did.
I'd be happy for Tenor Morrison to be my dad. Just putting it out there.
Absolutely.
Okay. Clone Wars came out 2002, right?
Yep.
Okay. I was 5. I don't remember. I don't. I straight up don't.
He was a
Like-
baby.
Yeah, I was a baby basically.
Don't pout, Raven. Don't pout.
I just straight up don't remember. Raven's acting like 99% of the Star Wars fandom on screen here, everybody.
Hey, I
Perfect.
was
Hey.
25 when.
It's okay. I'm pretty sure Pete was 39. So
Something
Oh,
like that.
right.
I was close.
Thank you,
33.
Wow.
Papa.
I was
Dang.
so close.
Wow.
You're saying for Attack of the Clones?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love you, Pete.
Eli was 18
Yeah, I
on
was,
his father's balls.
Yeah, Eli wasn't even alive.
Yeah, Eli. I don't even think Eli was a concept.
Eli was probably in the scrotum, but not yet ready for launch.
Ew.
He wasn't old enough.
I was. Yeah. Eli was. Eli was.
I'm gonna revoke your booth. You better watch out.
But like, yeah, I don't remember. I was just like, if I had to guess, my reaction was just some sort of. It was along the lines of, "Oh, that's neat," and yeah, that's it.
Nothing
That's
wrong with
fair.
that.
I mean, sometimes that's enviable to just like.
Also,
know.
I just want to say, the big reason why I just love the prequel so much, is not because of the act. Okay, it's because of the more. Yeah, I know, Pete. I know.
Wow, it got savage in here.
God,
And
Connor.
like-
hang on,
All right.
hang on. Pete's got more hair and more eyes than Connor.
More functional eyes.
Whoa! Whoa!
I respect
This
it.
aggression
I love
will
you,
not
I respect
stand.
it.
I'm putting that.
Here's
out
the
there.
thing. No, because here's the let me get real for a quick
Unless
second.
Guardians.
I just need to get and more. Yeah. You guys are good. I like this. I'm fine with it. Again, I'm fine with it. I don't care. I've had like an existential crisis or two over this. It's fine. No, I just actually need to get a new pair of glasses and I'll be able to see out of both eyes again. Like everything's reattached and
God.
everything. It's just that like
Nice.
I'm wearing glasses. I'm wearing glasses that like just are outdated prescription wise, at least for my right eye, not my left eye. But anyway,
I don't know what that's like.
He hasn't had his glasses in 10 years.
Don't at me.
I'm
I
gonna.
will. Anyway, the Lego Star Wars video game is just, I would attribute the big reason for why I just love Attack of the Clones so much,
Fair.
because I just played the hell out of that entire. My most fondest memories of that game was Camino. and was Geonosis and just everything with Attack of the Clones. And it was great. Yeah, none of us did. I mean, actually, didn't. I was
I just need to take a second because all right, so our audio listeners, our spoofy and pair people, listen, you need to be on the live shows. You need to tune in live because you are missing.
That truly is one of the funniest comments I've ever read.
You're
in a live
such a
stream.
roast fest happening right here.
It's like it's not the darkest. It's not mean. It's not like sexy. It's just so peculiar, and it makes all the sense.
It's just rude.
For everyone that without context, this is just pickle friends. Like,
Exactly.
This is just pickle friends. This is what we do. Okay, so
this is a casual Friday night, and it's literally a casual Friday night
where they literally
switching
ask
to
Boop for the roasts.
Switching to the casual glasses. After that one.
Casual glass.
But yeah, I don't
Casual
really
glass.
have much to say with Boba and Django. They're cool. Yeah.
So Boop, curious for you because like I grew up much like Rayven, loving the Boba guy. But like for you, I know early on was just like that's the guy everybody talks about. But like, did the retroactiveness of Django to Mara Morrison, any of that like change any of that, or was it still just the I don't really get it for you? Like, actually, when did you get Boba?
I was about to say because like you were overestimating how much I cared at that point.
Fair. But can we all agree? Baby Daniel Logan is fantastic.
Oh, baby. Absolutely adorable.
Oh,
like,
his little laugh when they're in the asteroid field. Oh, he's
right. My dad kills people.
It's about 3 microseconds too late, but it's
of course, like a child.
Like a child.
Yeah.
What I love about little Boba is that I've never seen a child mean mug an adult like he does when he opens the door and Obi-Wan's there.
Until I was much older.
He does.
I use that gifage. I use that gifage a lot in response to people. Baby Boba is a mood.
He is, and like I said, I was not into it to that point, so I didn't know.
It's been great on our end.
Exactly.
We literally have gotten everybody here.
It's
this
true.
is great.
Like, it's just a roving pack of
wonderful. This is the Pickle Friends tour, man.
Exactly.
You guys should have let Boop come up with whatever term she was going to come up with there.
Thank you, Rayven, because now I've lost it.
No, you got it. I believe in you.
I'm sorry.
Thank you. What was I thinking? What was I? I was talking about Boba. Yes. I didn't care for a long time. Is essentially what I'm getting at, because I was not, aware of what was going on until much, much, much later. And now I care a lot because Daniel Logan is an adorable child. And you know what? It's really interesting.
Adorable.
Stop, Eli.
Exactly. He's precious.
Oh my gosh. Probably our favorite meetup at Celebration 2019, I think.
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh.
That was nice.
Also, Daniel Logan voices Boba in the Lego game now.
It's so weird. If I'm being honest.
Fantastic.
It's
so weird. It's great.
That was really him.
Yeah.
Yeah. In the new game as Boba Fett, not as kid Boba Fett. I mean, as playable adult Boba Fett. Is
that
Daniel
is
Logan.
So cool.
Yeah. Wow. So it's like he did eventually
gotten there yet.
He looks good in adult Boba armor though. Like he had a cosplayer like custom make that for him. He looks good. I put so much money in the bank of like he's gonna show up Book of Boba Fett. We're gonna get
at some point, even if it's just a cameo.
I thought for sure that they were gonna do the animatics reel of Boba versus Cad, but it would be Daniel Logan.
Something, man. I would have loved something. Give us a bone on the Boba train. Come on.
Yeah. Okay. We're back on track because I remembered the exact point where I started caring about Boba Fett.
Hit me.
Tales from the Bounty Hunter. And that was
it. Always comes back to that book, doesn't it?
That was the book that got me back, that made me aware of bounty hunters in general and Star Wars as a larger.
Hey, look at that cover.
Yeah.
They don't do the covers like that anymore. I'll tell you that.
No.
Yes. I'm a
Can I say something about Boba Fett?
Absolutely, you can.
You know who really threw him a bone? Mace Windu, when he cleaved his dad's head off, he threw him a whole skull
It's
right
true.
there on Geonosis. That's a bone.
Burn.
I remember, like, I don't think I'd seen an act of violence like that in my life, you know, because I'd seen fantasy violence before, but it's fantasy violence in a different way.
Again, it gets into the whole like we're keepers of the peace, not soldiers, and it's like,
Yeah.
bro, you just beheaded a man.
You
It was
beheaded
actually-
him.
Showed no remorse.
It was actually supposed to be worse. So the beheading was the last thing. Like there's so from the moment he cuts his blaster out of his hand, there's like
Mhm.
2 more cuts he makes, and then the head. If you watch
Yeah.
like the full behind the scenes, like green screen up in the background shot,
Oh, this sound. Oh yeah, this sounds
and
familiar.
so
I
they were
remember
like,
this.
yeah, let's just take his head off. Like let's just
That
It's
does
brutal.
probably better.
and let's add the shadow of it falling out of the helmet later.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh! Like
that whole ending. I mean,
there was a lot of beheading in Attack of the Clones. Actually,
There really was.
Mhm.
There's an awful lot of beheading in Star Wars. We don't talk about it much.
But
Yeah.
lightsabers seem kind of designed for beheading, don't they? I
They
mean,
do.
It'd
True.
be a
It's a great
shame
way to
to
end
let
a
them go
fight.
to waste that way.
It
And
cauterizes the wounds right off the. Yeah, it's just nice and easy. And
Except for Aqualish.
You could say we're
Yes,
encouraged
Aqualish
to
have
behead.
very unique blood
Right,
vessels.
right.
that's a nice scene. Anakin trying to be
Oh
like,
my God, Anakin logic.
well,
Man, oh,
you
but,
know,
like that's a
God.
good pickup line. Like that's a good, like that's probably some of the best he had in his
Oh,
repertoire.
can I tell you?
Absolutely.
I'll tell you who has the best line.
Oh,
When Padme turns the aggressive negotiations back at him,
mhm.
when they're behind the flipped chariot,
Yeah,
he's like, "You call this a diplomatic solution?" When she looks at him and is like, Natalie Portman's all short, so it's like, "No, I call it aggressive negotiations." I think that's when I first
it's
fell
so
in love.
spicy.
Was
It's
that at
so
that exact
spicy
moment?
meatball right there?
I was like,
Yep.
"Woman," like,
You hear to hear.
This was
folks.
an awakening for 6-year-old.
There's an awakening for Alden Diaz, and it just went downhill ever since.
Yeah,
That's true.
exactly.
wrong.
Let's
That's true.
not go further there.
It awoke and it never went back to bed.
Nope.
So
No.
to close us out, we're getting towards the end of our allotted show time. But any other big highlights? We've covered a swath, but I feel like we could have covered so much more. Could have really done several episodes worth of content. I think this is a very full and very awesome movie. So Connor, you had your hand up. What
I gotta
hit me
talk
with what
about
you got.
I gotta talk about 2 really good. Hi, Rick.
What's up, Rick?
I gotta talk about
Rick.
Hey,
2
what's up, Rick?
really good lines. The first is Master Kenobi, you disappoint me. Yoda holds you in such high esteem. I just love the way it's written. It's just I love it. I love that it's just a straight dig at Obi-Wan. That Duke is
yeah.
trying to get him, and it gets him. It's great. But probably my favorite line in the entire movie is also the line that pretty much summarizes Anakin's arc. It's when he has all this anger. Oh God, yeah. Yoda fighting was incredible. Him getting the say like
Absolutely.
I really wish I could remember my reaction to whenever I first watch Attack of the Clones to like Yoda just force pulling the saber just casually like it's a pistol out of his cloak. Because I probably was like mind blown.
I do remember that this was the most like get up and cheer movie for me for Star Wars until the sequels.
Yep.
This was the one that really got
And
me
you
a
did
lot,
get up and cheer.
so much.
But the
yes.
one line I want to talk about real quick is I'm a Jedi. I know I'm better than this.
Mm.
And it's just it's Anakin's entire arc in the prequels. Just
That
the
whole
one line.
scene, it is a bit cheesy in areas, and there is definitely questionable logic of just like, yeah, he just admitted mass murder, but like that's a whole thing we
Who
can't
hasn't?
unpack. But yeah, that whole scene is so intense, and what I love is the Vanity Fair thing that Ewan and Hayden did. Hayden talked about this scene a little bit and everything, which I appreciate because I thought this was, at least for this film, like some of his best work.
Oh yeah.
With the
And it's
character
like-
of Anakin.
And it's just like, you know what a Jedi needs to be, and you know what a Jedi should be. And like with what you were brought up with Shmi, that being reinforced by Jedi ideals should be good. But again, We're not in the High Republic era. We're in the prequels. We're in the twilight of the Jedi Order at this point.
Mhm.
And it's like what he learns is the wrong thing. And it's just like he knows it's just that it's just the fight between like what a Jedi should be and what the Jedi are at this time that are just distilled in that line.
Well,
for him.
what and
what
two,
he is, obviously.
yeah, and to what he wants it to be. Like he has had, like he reveals it at the dinner table in the Phantom Menace. He has this misconception of what the Jedi should be. Like, you know, I had a dream I was a Jedi and I came back here and freed all the like he has hopes and dreams for what he should be. And he's steeped on that for 10 years, and now you add in all this trauma, all of
He
these.
deifies them in the same way that the whole galaxy does, right?
Yeah,
like the
absolutely.
Jedi at this point are only 10,000 strong. You could fit the entire Jedi Order in any sports arena in America. The entire order.
I don't
You
think
know,
they like sports.
So I don't either.
And
I
you
don't
literally lost
I
10%
do.
of them here.
You do.
Yeah, you could fit. Yeah, you could
sports
definitely
fan.
fit the entire order in
Yeah.
any arena.
Any arena. It's like it's a small force, and they're deified to this point of godhood. Going back to Anakin and Phantom Menace, of no one can kill a Jedi. And I wish that were so. Insert the Always Sunny theme music right after Anakin says it. But it's just this idea that everybody has been perfectly maneuvered and groomed for this moment going back pre-Phantom Menace. You know, Palpatine's early. I mean, we meet Palpatine and he's Senator Palpatine about to get the top job. It was a long process. I'm sure that there was a mayor Palpatine or like a city councilman Palpatine. Like it all
Newspaper boy Palpatine.
Principal Palpatine.
For Principal Palpatine. Yeah, exactly. Superintendent Palpatine.
TJ
like-
Super Nintendo Palpatine. Yeah.
Super Nintendo. He was just that like local GameStop manager Palpatine. Like
His
Best
name
I could
isn't
do is
Chris.
Tree Fitty. Like, yeah.
it has all led to this moment, to the point where even small players like Jar Jar Binks are essential to the maneuvering and the downfall. Like it's everything has the ripple effects. Everything affects everything. So by moving Padme into the situation of hiding, it's like, okay, our assassination attempt didn't work. However, she's still alive. She is gone. So while she's gone, I can take Representative Binks, manipulate him to do this. Like the magic of Palpatine as a villain is that he's the greatest. Local elections do matter. That's
Yeah.
true. Everybody,
Vote.org.
everybody,
Yeah.
make sure you know who's representing you. Make sure you get involved with the city.
Right. They used to work for GameStop. You know.
But it's true. Like Palpatine is the ultimate improviser. He's the ultimate yes and. You've only seen him really rattled 3 times that I can think of. 3 key times. First one's in Phantom Menace when Padme demands to go back to Naboo, and he's like, "Huh?" Like he didn't see that coming.
That wasn't part of the plan.
Yeah, one of them's in Rise of Skywalker when he says the Princess of Alderaan has disrupted my plans by turning her son back. Like it's very rare he's thrown off his game because he's always ready to okay, I didn't kill her, boom, okay, I'll have Jar Jar Binks, and Jar Jar Binks will make the vote.
In episode 3, I would say, I've always read that as genuine fear on his face when Mace reeled back.
And it's also George. You know, whenever someone says that, like there was that just ass backwards stupid piece that ran the other day, probably on Fox, about like Star Trek is going where it's never gone before, woke politics. It's like, first of all, you're a moron. Second of all, like what are we doing here? And Star Wars is also
Third of all,
extremely
is Fox
progressive.
News.
That too.
Fourth of all, Star Trek has always been woke. and
Star Trek
so
is
has
the
Star
the
Wars.
wokest of them all.
Right.
Exactly.
But
That's
Star
the
Wars,
entire
like
point.
introducing the Trade Federation, is George condemning political action. He's condemning the combination of church and state because he believes in the separation, and he's also condemning corporate and state, where the Trade Federation would be like if Jeff Bezos had seats in Congress, and that's the like if Amazon
He
had
said if.
and he's getting there, yeah. And so is Musk. And then the stuff with Jar Jar is about scaring people enough into surrendering their own freedoms. I mean, that's the thing, is that like George has said, like democracies. I think George was quoting someone else, but I don't remember who the original quote was from. democracies are not taken; they're given away.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what happens. It happens with the Patriot Act. One bad thing happens, and everyone and their mother, except Bernie Sanders, was ready to be like, no, yeah, that sounds great. Let's just
happens by majority vote.
And so for Jar Jar to be like emergency powers, and then Palpatine to be like, the emergency powers, I'll give them back. I don't want them. I'll use them. Like,
this is Palpatine's hammiest too, because it's also that, what senator would make such a radical motion? Like all of this with Palpatine is the cheesiest and schlockiest it's ever been. But it's also the most like honest. Like this is just him really, like, you can read, you can it's very palpable like what his motives are. But like you said, they're backed so much into a corner that they're like, let's try it with the senile old man.
It's arguable that this is the last bit of subtlety we get from Palpatine for a very, very long time.
Because when you're in charge, you don't really need it anymore.
No.
Yeah, I mean that's the beauty of the transition of Ian McDiarmid's performance, is that like Revenge of the Sith is the apotheosis of everything that he wants. That's the greatest day of his life. That's why he's yelling and acting like a Phantom of the Opera at like a local theater. Like he's like just on top of the world. And this is like the slow simmer, and you can see it in different moments when he's almost like moments where he's like, I think one day you'll be even more powerful than Master Yoda. Like he just says like little things to just get Anakin hyped up and drinking his own Kool-Aid. And it just feels, this movie is just important. Like it's just so important to everything that happened.
Yeah. Rayven, from you, any last big moments, favorite things, highlights, any of that?
I would say the biggest thing I would take away from it is, for those of you who said Star Wars doesn't do jokes, those of you who said Star Wars isn't funny, and all the sequel jokes are terrible because they're jokes and they don't make jokes. Just want to remind you that in Attack of the Clones, Obi-Wan makes a lot of jokes, some of them not as funny as others. And, we should all just remember there were always funny things in Star Wars. And on a side note, seismic charges.
Seismic charges.
Oh, yeah.
The best.
Sexiest sound in all of Star Wars.
Yeah,
the best.
It's the greatest ever.
Right. Attack of the Clones is probably the most fun saga film, I think. Like for me, for me, the most fun film is really Solo. But if you're just looking at 1 to 9, you can't have much more fun than Episode 2. But I think you can have fun with all of them. That's not what I'm saying. But I think this one definitely is the biggest amalgamation of everything that was important and influential to George, as has been said by Alden and by Connor. This is a very George film. I think this is very George in the creative side. I think The Phantom Menace is very George in the commentary side. But nonetheless, I think that all of them, including Attack of the Clones, are very true to the heart of what he set out to do with these stories. They're fun, they're inspirational, and they speak volumes if you listen. And I think that's the biggest thing, is so many people haven't listened, haven't given the right shot to Attack of the Clones. And I think it's time to stop listening to Rotten Tomatoes and YouTube commenters.
Yes.
Form your own opinions, give it a shot, learn more about what went into it, and also just go in hoping to have fun, because you'll get what you look for when you go into there. I think Attack of the Clones is great. I think we are coming to a time when the criticisms are much fewer, and I look forward to that for the sequels as well. I just hope it doesn't take 20 years for that.
I mean, I've said this before other places. I might have even said it on the last Nerdherder. Who knows? It's just always in my mind these days with the way people are. Game of Thrones season 8 is probably the most controversial big IP thing to happen in years, right? We all pretty much, even if you didn't watch it, you're aware of how the blowback on it.
Mhm.
There's one line in the very last episode of Game of Thrones where it doesn't even matter what it's about. You don't need to know. Jon Snow asks Tyrion Lannister, "Do you think we did the right thing?" And Tyrion says, "Ask me again in 10 years." And that's in the last episode. There's not going to be any more that we know of. But it's like, that's such a meta line. Ask me again in 10 years. When it's further down the road, when it's the children that decide, like, the kids are all right. Like, it's that type of energy. Like, the prequel kids are adults now. We're in our 20s, we're in our 30s. Like, people are making art and stuff. And the same thing will happen with everything, you know? And then the sequel kids will... The question is not, will it come around for people? Oh, Jesus. The question is not, will it come around for people? The question is, which generation is going to be the first to break the cycle?
Yeah.
Which generation is going to be the first one that says, oh, well, that wasn't like mine, and that's okay. And hopefully it's the sequel kids when they're adults, and there's the next thing.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
well, and let's just remember, we're talking about silly space movies made for kids.
Faking in space, baby.
Right, like,
Exactly.
It's faking in space.
You have as much fun as you want to have, and I think in the right mindset, you can have a lot of fun with this film and others. Eli, it was sharing from my opinion, but yeah. Hopefully, you were inspired to revisit, whether you like it or not, Attack of the Clones. That's certainly the hope. If nothing else, hopefully you've enjoyed this love fest for the film. Also, the roast fest that has been happening in the comments. I
Beautiful.
mentioned it
so
countless
proud of you
times,
guys.
but yet again, join us live for every Friday at 9 if we're alive. To do so, join us and Don, who has forever tickets to it, gifted by the illustrious radio man Alden Diaz.
The radio man, yes.
The tapestry man.
The tapestry.
The tapestry radio man, the boba man. Plugs, plenty. Alden, we mentioned you, so why don't you start us off there? Where can the people find you and look forward to you?
yeah, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at that Alden Diaz, ThatAldenDiaz, and then talking Star Wars on Octo Radio, Star Wars Podcast, which is my show, one-on-one interviews from the Star Wars space, people from Lucasfilm, writers, authors, actors, all that good stuff. And then we also do a show there called A Rewatch Between Worlds, where we're going through all of Star Wars Rebels and analyzing all of that material. And then also the One and Done Film Club, also popping up in various other places. And then at Star Wars Celebration, if you're going to be there, find me just throughout at the local breakfast joints at like 3 a.m, but particularly on a panel Saturday with Triad of the Force talking about Latinx representation in Star Wars. It's going to be a really fun time. They scheduled us for the exact same time as Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni. So if you can't get into that panel, come see us.
There you go. It's a worthwhile visit, I'm sure. And much love to all of the lovelies going to Star Wars Celebration. We'll be there next time. We will be home and comfy. And if you have literally nothing else is happening next Friday. Let's just put it out there. Nothing else is happening. Tune in live where we're going to be celebrating 43 years of the excellent horror sci-fi film that is Alien. You've got nothing better to watch next Friday.
It's true.
Right?
Absolutely
Yep.
Nothing. No mullets to be had.
No Kenobis to be. I can't say that.
Next week's show is going to be on the rewatch, but it's okay because it's going to be a 1.5 anyway. So, but anyway, Rayven, what about you, ma'am?
Well, you can find me on Broaxium, obviously, and you can also find me on Sisters of Sabers. As far as social media, you can find me on Instagram if you really want to see pictures of my t-shirts and you might want to see pictures of my Wookiee because I actually have one. But other than that, I'm staying off the social medias, keeping my life nice and calm and quiet, but it's so great to come back into shows like this and see people. And last but not least, for those of you going to Star Wars Celebration, please, 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 for your Star Wars auntie, please be safe. Be smart, look out for each other. You guys, seriously, be smart, be safe, and look out for each other because I want all of you to come back. Okay, yes. I need you back so we can talk about this again later. So be safe.
Exactly.
Connor, I am putting you in charge of Eli.
Oh, God.
And Alden, I'm putting you in charge of Connor.
Connor's not going to be
I'm-
there.
I'm not
Oh,
going
that's
to
right.
celebration.
Oh,
Connor-
I'm not
Connor's a
going
punk like
because
us.
I don't have kids on purpose. Thank you very little.
same.
Connor's a
no?
punk like us. He's going to be celebrating from home.
I've had 3 surgeries.
That's true.
I'll look
You
after
deserve,
Eli.
like a nap
Yeah, you
I'll
need a
look
break.
after everybody to the best of my ability.
when
Make
you're not
sure
eating
everybody's
Roscoe's
okay.
chicken and
Al-
waffles.
yeah, Alden, I want to trust you, but chicken and waffles.
Chicken and waffles, well, sir. Chicken and waffles is the greatest breakfast ever assembled.
Baby.
Aw.
Whoa! Surprise guest
Aw.
appearance. Connor, the one-eyed knight. Where can the peoples find you?
Twitter, Depa Banana, Nerd Academy podcast, where I talk
Yes.
Star Wars with a lot of great people.
Yes.
Find us everywhere. The podcast show is specifically called Knights of the Nerd Republic. I also co-host another podcast, which is Upstart, For the Republic, a love letter to Star Wars animation. I co-host it with 3 other great people. We're going through Clone Wars right now chronologically. It's a pretty good thing. And then sweditorIG.com, where I write articles and stories super slowly. I'll say this, yeah. I have 4 stories in development about my favorite Jedi boy. That's not going to be too hard to figure out who it is. Just go on my Twitter.
Right.
Kiari Mundi.
Literally go on my Twitter and look at my pinned tweet and you're good to go.
His favorite Jedi's Ponkrell. No, it's just
Yeah, it's
settle that now.
Ponkrell. Yeah, I got 4 I got 4 Ponkrell stories in development. I help co-run Ponkrell stands.
Ponkrell, a Star Wars story.
Connor,
Boop.
do we need to have a chat?
Maybe.
Don't bring out the wrath this late in the game. Save that for later. But
yeah, that's it. Yeah.
go follow all of these pod people.
Please.
They are so lovely, and we appreciate them giving their valuable time to our low budget little corner of the galaxy. Thank you for joining yourself with the tapestry. We now release you back into the wild lands.
Be free, you
but,
beautiful, majestic
we
bastards.
will shine the signals at some point and have you back around, because this was so much fun. And
was.
so yeah, again, next week we will be talking about Alien, a film near and dear for me, turning 43 years old, and I think it is still a masterpiece, and we've got some lovely people who love that film joining us for that conversation as well. So it's
Sigourney Weaver?
going to be great. I wish. That is my, like, look.
She wasn't available.
No. If Tamora Morrison is my space dad, she is my space mom. Let's go. That is my family tree.
I'm gonna message you right now. Space Mom
of course.
episode.
Of course. Alden's got me on it. But thank you to our lovely patrons who pay for this. Sorry.
Yeah.
Manage your money better. And thank you to everybody, whether you're listening and joining in the roast live or whether you're checking it out after the fact, like Alden's favorite listener, Dawn. We appreciate you and love you so much. And we'll see you guys next week. But in the meantime, stay scruffy.
Wait a minute. You know, this is, excuse me, a damn fine cup of coffee.